just when I think you couldn't possibly be any dumber.
So at this point, I don't know what to think. I mean, is Trudeau actually that stupid, or is he not stupid and he's intentionally trying to destroy Canada? Why? I don't know. Maybe China's telling him to do it. Maybe he just likes watching things burn. But anyway, here's his next great leap forward. Trudeau moves forward with fertilizer reduction policy. Well, that would seem like an idiotic thing to do, considering, I don't know, maybe the huge farmer protests in the Netherlands because of their government messing with the farmers and telling them what they can do with fertilizer. And the farmers seem to think that the real plan here is to drive them out of business so that the government can then take control of the land. And there's also Sri Lanka, the place where organic farming went catastrophically wrong. A nationwide experiment is abandoned after producing only misery. Yes, the government told them they had to use organic fertilizer. It turns out it doesn't work very well. It turns out it produced only misery. I guess Trudeau's one of those leaders who figures you gotta break a few eggs to make an omelet, right? Somebody should tell him what Orwell said about that. He said, "Where's the omelet?" But in any case, it's clear this is an insane plan that Trudeau has. And this is from Countersignal. Trudeau has decided to move forward with his cap on nitrogen emissions by reducing fertilizer use, even as provincial agriculture ministers beg him to stop. And let's go to this news release from Saskatchewan.ca. Governments of Saskatchewan and Alberta disappointed in federal target for fertilizer emissions reduction. Saskatchewan and Alberta ministers of agriculture are expressing profound disappointment in the federal government's fertilizer emissions reduction target. Quote, "We're really concerned with this arbitrary goal." Arbitrary? What does that word mean again? Oh yeah, based on random choice or personal whim, rather than any reason or system. Yep, that sounds like Trudeau.
I don't know, when I think about the biggest, most important economic policy this government, if re-elected, would move forward, you'll forgive me if I don't think about monetary policy.
Actually, I don't forgive you, and neither should anybody else. Anyway, quote, "The Trudeau government has apparently moved on from their attack on the oil and gas industry and set their sights on Saskatchewan farmers." And this is from the Alberta Minister of Agriculture. Quote, "This has been the most expensive crop anyone has put in, following a very difficult year on the prairies. The world is looking for Canada to increase production and be a solution to global food shortages. The federal government needs to display that they understand this. They owe it to our producers. Well, they may understand it, but they don't care." Let's take a look at this from the Worldbank.org. Food Security Update. Record high food prices have triggered a global crisis that will drive millions more into extreme poverty, magnifying hunger and malnutrition while threatening to erase hard-won gains in development. The war in Ukraine, supply chain disruptions, and the continued economic fallout of the pandemic are reversing years of development gains and pushing food prices to all-time highs. So I don't know. I mean, if you hate third world countries and you hate poor people, well, then I guess you'd probably implement something like this. You'd reduce the amount of food available. I mean, sure, there's a global food crisis that's just going to be getting worse and worse in the coming months. But, Trudeau's got a virtue signal about emissions. It's really important to him. And while it is really important to him to pretend to care about poor people, I think he just loves virtue signaling over emissions even more. But you have to wonder, I mean, can even his bought and paid for media spin this in a way that it'll be palatable for the public? Which would then beg the question of, well, why is he doing it in the first place? Oh yeah, I forgot about Klaus. Says here that Western Canadian farmers already produce the most sustainable agri-food products in the world, and they're continually being asked to do more with less. We cannot feed the growing world population with a reduction in fertilizer. And keep in mind, this is all at a time when fertilizer prices are at a record high. Not to mention record high fuel costs. Not to mention the fact that in March, the Trudeau government put a 35% tariff on Russian fertilizer. So obviously then it costs more to grow the crops, it's more inflation, you get it by now. So farmers are struggling already. And of course, it's going to make any food crisis worse. That's obvious. So I don't know, who could have guessed that electing a drama teacher and part-time snowboard instructor as Prime Minister of Canada could turn out badly. Anyway, please subscribe, like, and share. Sharing really helps me out. I notice when people share my content, it makes a huge difference. Thank you for doing that. I'll see you next time.